What's up, guys? My name is George, and welcome back to Lookback, a new series where we take a look back at all the best features of Call of Duty Zombies. Last episode, we took a look at World at War Zombies, and this episode, we're going to be taking a look at Black Ops 1 and whatever it brought. Black Ops 1 brought in a lot of great maps and a lot of controversial maps as well. So, without further ado, kick back, get some popcorn, and let's dive into what made Black Ops 1 so iconic. Let's take a look back at where we left off, World at War Zombies. This game left so much on the table for us to pick up and actually work with, and this is where Kino actually started to get created. Kino was originally thought to be a World at War map, going to be the fourth DLC right after the release. However, with all the time being put into Kino, the release date for Kino was going to be right around the release of Modern Warfare 2, so the developers decided to push it off for their next game, Black Ops. This gave them so much more time to actually work on what they were actually planning on doing. And all the innovation was shown with Kino's release. The first big innovation that we see with Kino is the Quick Revive machine. Before, in World at War, Quick Revive had one function. For 1500 points, you can revive your teammates faster. Now, in Black Ops 1, if you're playing solo, it only costs 500 points, and it can actually give you a second life. You have 3 activations on this before the Quick Revive machine goes away. This is a huge innovation for solo players because now they have extra chances to get back up and recover from their mistakes. If you were a high round player, this next feature would honestly detriment you, and that was the removal of the zombies cap. For those who don't know, the zombies cap back in World at War was 24 zombies per round. Now, there is no zombies cap per round, meaning you can have hundreds, if not thousands of zombies depending on what round you are on. On top of this, the zombies continue to get stronger every round, making it so that most weapons become absolutely useless in the later rounds, essentially leaving only one weapon that can be useful in those rounds, and we'll get to that later. This is why a lot of players also coined the term that 80 is now halfway to 100, because the amount of kills that you have to get between rounds 80 to 100 is about the same as you would have to get from rounds 1 to 80, which is insane. Starting out the game is very similar to at World at War. You have M1911 and 2 grenades at your disposal, kill zombies in order to get points and to progress the rounds, use those points to buy doors and weapons, and turn on power to have access to perks. However, by turning on power, we get access to our third zombie type in the game, and honestly, a very annoying one. When you do turn on power, Nova 6 crawlers will begin to spawn around the map. These zombies are super annoying for the main reason that when you shoot them with a bullet, they explode with Nova 6 gas, clouding up your vision. This is super annoying if you're ever training and you cannot see it, you accidentally run in the wall, and that could kill you. However, there is a way for you to actually make sure that they don't explode, and that's by knifing them. This becomes super annoying in the later rounds when you have multiple zombies right on your tail trying to kill you, and you have to knife these zombies to make sure that they don't explode. So a lot of the time, you just end up shooting them and killing them normally, causing the Nova 6 to explode, and it's just super annoying. However, the biggest addition to Kino der Toten Zombies was the Thunder Gun. The Thunder Gun is a massive gun with 2 shots in its clip on Pack-a-Punch, and when you fire, it eliminates everything in front of you with a giant concussive blast. This gun is a godsend. A lot of players would just train around on the stage with the Thunder Gun, and when their crowd got big enough, they would just turn around and blast everything into oblivion. This gun was so useful back in the day, and that's why a lot of players loved Kino der Toten, because once they got the Thunder Gun, they felt invincible. We also have a brand new power-up introduced in Kino der Toten called the Fire Sale. If you spin the box long enough and get the teddy bear, you now have a chance to spawn a Fire Sale. A Fire Sale puts a box at every single box location on the map for only 10 points. During this time, you have a chance at 4 hits on the box if you keep switching out your weapon, meaning that you can get 4 hits to get the gun that you want out of the box. This is huge for players still setting up in the early game, because now you actually have a chance to get the gun that you want out of the box for very cheap. However, Kino was not the only map introduced at launch. If you beat the campaign, you are instantly thrown into a brand new map called 5, where you play in the Pentagon with Robert McNamara, Richard Nixon, JFK, and Fidel Castro. Before 5, every single map seemed like a generic location that was very run down by the zombies and seemed abandoned for years. All of a sudden, we get thrown into a map which is a real-life location, one of the only actual real-life locations that we've ever seen in a zombies map. And on top of that, you get thrown in with these iconic characters in history. Like, yeah, they're all dead now, but like, just thinking about the fact that you can play as JFK on a zombies map that was canonical too, it was insane. However, the map really failed when it came to innovations and its honest difficulty, which a lot of players were turned off by. First off was this elevator where if you went down without your teammates would essentially be stuck on the upper floor or lower floor without you. So if they went down, you will have to wait for the elevator to cool down before you can go back down and actually revive them. The only other way for you to go floor to floor on this map was with the teleporters, and the teleporters back in 5 were completely random. You will walk into one and it will teleport you to a random floor at a random location, making them almost useless unless you got super lucky with using them. And the last place you wanted to teleport to, and the one that you would teleport to the most, was the laboratories. The laboratories were notorious for being super cramped, having a ton of zombie spawns, and having Nova 6 crawlers in there only. Why were there Nova 6 crawlers in almost every map in Black Ops 1? It was so annoying. Nobody wanted to deal with all these Nova crawlers all over the place, blocking out your vision whenever you killed them. Sorry, I got a little bit carried away. Nobody likes Nova 6 crawlers, but there were a lot more factors into what makes this map so difficult and so annoying for the casual player. Another factor to the difficulty was the Death Machine power-up. If you picked it up, it would pull out the Death Machine that was also present in multiplayer and campaign. As good as it was in those game modes, in zombies, it was super slow, did very little damage, and would honestly get a lot of players down because they could not put it away as they could in Black Ops 3. Even though a lot of these factors made the game more difficult, there was one more factor that also made the game more difficult, but also made it so that it would reward the players that actually succeeded in overcoming it. That was the brand new round introduced called the Pentagon Thief round. Sorry, I don't have any footage of this round, but let me try to explain it as best as I could. Essentially, this was a round solely dedicated to a single boss in the map called the Pentagon Thief. Essentially, the Pentagon Thief would come out of the teleporter and attack the player. If it attacked the player, it would not actually harm the player, but it would steal their gun from them, causing the player to teleport with the Pentagon Thief into the laboratories, trying to kill it. If they succeeded in killing it, not only would they get their gun back, but they would get a fire sale and a max ammo to go along with it. However, if you killed the Pentagon Thief before it even stole anybody's guns, then you would be rewarded with a bonfire sale instead of the fire sale, the best power-up to ever touch the game. Essentially, the bonfire sale would make it so that every teleporter around the map would get straight to Pack-a-Punch. Pack-a-Punch was only 1,000 points, making it so that you could Pack-a-Punch your gun for almost the same price as you would buy a new gun from the box, making setting up for later rounds super easy. This will reward the more hardcore players who were the more skilled ones. They would kill the Pentagon Thief much more quickly than the other players, so because of that, they got a reward for being that much more skilled. However, we are not done yet with brand new Zombies game modes coming out at launch, because while you're in the chair in the main menu of Black Ops 1, you can break out of it by spamming the triggers. Then you can go over to the computer in the corner and type in the letters DOA, which instantly transports you to a brand new game mode first introduced in Black Ops 1 called Dead Ops Arcade. It's essentially an arcade-style game with an overhead view where you're shooting zombies that are constantly coming at you in all directions. You use your right stick to point and shoot, and you do not touch your triggers at all. It is very dissimilar to Zombies game mode, but also very similar in the same time. You have a bunch of power-ups on the floor, such as ray guns and flamethrowers. You also have 2 other weapons that are disposable. The first one being a nuke you could drop by using the right bumper, and the second one being a dash attack you can use by clicking the left bumper. Overall, it's a very fun game mode, but not something that a lot of players kept replaying over and over again, yet it does have its own community on the side of zombies. With the availability of Kino 5 and Deadshot Arcade at their disposal at launch, Zombies players fell in love with the game mode once again. Getting the high rounds on Kino was super easy, going over the 5 for more of a challenge, and Deadshot Arcade when they're just trying to goof around. It was honestly a beautiful thing, so a lot of players end up asking, okay, what's next? But a lot of players also stayed back and kept playing those games. I remember not even wanting to touch any of the DLC maps because I just loved Kino that much growing up. However, I've since grown out of it and realized that the other maps are much better, such as the next map coming out, Ascension. Ascension is a very revolutionary map in many ways. First of all, the first room challenge really started off with Ascension, with players realizing that the giant spinning probe in the middle does infinite damage to those zombies. Meaning, if a player can just train around the zombies for long enough, eventually the probe will go off and they can kill all the zombies in the room. Therefore, the player never has to fire a bullet and they still get the rounds progressed. However, that was not all. The Thunder Gun returns from Kino del Totlin, obviously making this map another staple and must-have map amongst the community. Ascension also introduced 2 new tactical equipments, first one being the Gersh device. The Gersh device is essentially a monkey bomb, except instead of monkey bombs, they are just giant black holes that spawn in the map. Not only does it suck up all the zombies in the area and delay all the others, but jumping in it can actually teleport you to a brand new location. So if you are ever stuck in a corner, you could throw this down, buy yourself a little bit of time, and jump in it to get completely out of that situation. The second piece of equipment that was introduced were the Matryoshka dolls, or Russian dolls. These are the dolls that stack inside of each other, a person inside of a person, inside of a person, and so on. And by firing it off, each person would blast off in their own radius and cause another explosion, which does devastating damage to hordes. We also got introduced to 2 brand new perks on this map, PhD Flopper and Stamina Up. Stamina Up is a perk for 2,000 points. You can run faster and increase your endurance, making traversing the map much more manageable. But the highlight of the show was PhD Flopper. PhD Flopper was another 2,000 point perk which gave the player 3 abilities. The first one being that whenever the player dolphin dived from a high area, there was a giant explosion surrounding them, killing all the zombies around them. The second one was, if a player fell off of a high area without dolphin diving, then they would have no fall damage, meaning that they can just jump off of any ledge that they want and not die. And the third one, and possibly the most important one, was the negated all explosive damage, meaning that the ray gun has much more worth in this game because you have PhD preventing any splash damage. This also made the starting pistol being upgraded much more valuable too, since now the Mustang and Sally's, when sprayed at the feet, will no longer kill you. However, we also got a removal of a perk, that being the double tap machine. Double tap was nowhere to be found on Ascension, meaning that you could not buy it, and the only way to get it was completing the Easter egg. However, we did see the first perk removed off of a map, that being double tap. Yeah, there is no double tap machine on Ascension, which is extremely weird. Even with the remaster in Zombies Chronicles, there is still no double tap machine, which I find very odd. They put a Wonder Fizz machine on the map, but didn't put a double tap machine. I mean, yeah, it was a pretty bad perk back in the day, only doubling the amount of fire rate that you had instead of doubling every bullet that you shot, but still, it would have been nice to have the option, especially when you only have 5 perk machines out of launch. It was not too good of a move, and personally, I would have loved to see it in there. Monkey rounds are the replacement for dog rounds, and they are, in my opinion, the worst feature on this map. If they are not careful, the player can lose their perks because the monkeys don't attack the player. they attack the perk machines. Meaning if you're playing solo and they start attacking Quick Revive, you better get over there, because if they strip Quick Revive, you only have 2 more times to buy it before you lose it entirely. Yes, you do get the added bonus of if you kill all the monkeys before they touch a perk machine, you get a free random perk. But that's a random perk, and it's extremely hard, especially on solo. If you're playing this with friends and all of you guys have the same 4 perks, perfect. You guys can essentially work together to make sure you guys get the free perk bottles every single time. If you are playing this solo, this is the worst round in the entire game, because you cannot protect every single perk. It's almost impossible, and you have to decide which perks are worth losing. At the end of the round, of course, you get a max ammo and a random perk bottle if you kill all the zombies before they touch a perk machine. Overall, this is a very good map, but so many players look at it with some level of disgust because of how annoying these stupid monkeys are. I completely almost forgot to mention the fact that Ascension has the first ever Easter egg with an actual reward at the end of it. You do need 4 players, and you do need the Gersh devices to it, but if you complete the Easter egg, you get a Perkaholic and a Death Machine for a solid minute. Of course, as I said before, the Death Machine isn't too good, but a lot of players finished this by around 15 or 20-ish, so the Death Machine was not falling off at that point. It was not doing not infinite damage. So it was still a great feature to have in the game, and it also gave a little bit of story to what was going on in Zombies. Moving on to the next map released from Black Ops 1 Zombies, that was going to be Call of the Dead. Now, personally, I think Call of the Dead is an instant classic, because, yeah, it didn't add much in terms of actual innovations in the game. It did a lot right to make it so good. First of all, let's talk about the cast. The cast is one of the best casts I've ever heard about in my entire life. If you told me back at World at War that Danny Trejo, Michael Rooker, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Robert Englund, freaking Freddy Krueger, was going to be a playable character in Call of Duty Zombies, I would not believe you at all. But Call of the Dead made it happen, and on top of that, the creator of Zombies, George Romero, is one of the bosses in the game, and somehow the developers of Black Ops 1 Zombies got all these guys together in order to voice act every single line. It was truly incredible. Now you might be wondering, why the hell do you have these celebrities playable in a Zombies map? Well, it's pretty simple. George Romero, another character in the map, actually wanted to make a movie based off of a book he read about 115 in this abandoned lighthouse slash broken down ship. He cast the 4 crew members, and all of a sudden Element 115 takes over, and now all of a sudden the crew is left to themselves to fight for themselves as George Romero gets taken away by the zombies and essentially becomes infected by them and starts attacking the crew. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but also there's this thing about Richtofen, Nikolai, Dempsey, and Takio being locked away behind a metal door and needing something called a goldenrod in order to progress with their plan. It is very complicated. Yes, it's very complicated. But just forget about that. You're playing as Danny Trejo on a freaking Zombies map. It's so insane to think about. First of all, the scenery is amazing. Being on this broken down ship and lighthouse overrun by zombies is a truly one of the best sceneries for a Zombies map of all time. On top of that, having the cameo of George Romero, essentially the father of all zombies, is truly one of the best inclusions of all time as well. Deadshot Daiquiri was also introduced in Call of the Dead, and surprisingly, it was the first ever perk introduced that had a variable price depending on where you were playing on. This was of course also introduced into Black Ops 4 with modifier perks, but for Deadshot Daiquiri's case, it is completely different. For 1500 points on PlayStation and Xbox, you automatically aim to the head of zombies and also have less recoil and less hipfire spread. However, on PC, since they already aim for heads without the need of Deadshot Daiquiri, the perk only costs 1000 points. Ziplines were also introduced into the map, and they were a super fast and easy way to traverse around the map without having to go around all these obstacles. As successful as the map really was, there was one glaring flaw: the wonder weapons. In previous maps, the wonder weapons were very overpowered. Every player would try to hit the box in order to get them, And when you got them, you could basically survive for as long as you can, as long as you didn't run out of ammo or didn't make a mistake. However, with this map, the wonder weapons were severely underpowered, yet also lacking in the ammo department like the previous wonder weapons. The first wonder weapon I want to talk about is the Scavenger. The Scavenger is an explosive sniper rifle. Think of it as like a cross between a crossbow and a sniper rifle. This is a great idea because now it puts more skill to actually using a good wonder weapon. However, it lacks severely in the power department and has about the same ammo as a thunder gun, making it almost useless in the later rounds. The second wonder weapon is the VR-11. This is a device that you strap onto your arm, and when you shoot a zombie, it turns back into a human acting as a mini monkey bomb. This might be one of the worst wonder weapons solo, but with co-op it was actually super useful, because once you upgraded it and shot your teammate would have insta-kill and invulnerability for a short amount of time. Meaning, high rounds were so much easier in co-op rather than solo, the first time we've actually seen this in the Zombies map. However, players still love this map for the characters, for the scenery, and for the actual difficulty. So, Treyarch took this and ramped up the difficulty into the next map, Shangri-La. A lot of players were mixed about Shangri-La, and for good reason. It was an extremely difficult map and introduced a lot of extra obstacles where if you removed one, the map would seem so much better. However, a lot of players love this difficulty and make it so it's an actual challenge compared to the other maps that we've seen in Black Ops 1. I'm personally on the side of Shangri-La is a good map, but it's not the best map. It's honestly a beautiful scenery, being in the middle of an abandoned jungle temple. You have a great Easter egg that requires all 4 players, and the wonder weapon may be one of the best wonder weapons of all time, even though it does 0 damage. Yes, the baby gun does 0 damage, yet it is one of the best wonder weapons of all time, and a lot of players seem to agree with it. The way I use the baby gun is I create a crowd, then shoot the gun into the crowd, creating a bunch of baby zombies. Then I run through the crowd, kicking every single zombie away until there's no more, and it is extremely fun to use. However, there's one glaring flaw with this gun as well, and that is the fact that these zombies don't die instantly. They still get a couple of hits off, meaning that you can actually die if you are not careful running through the crowd. However, one of the biggest factors of difficulty in the game is not because of how hard the baby gun is to use, but because of how tight the corridors are, making it almost impossible to run trains. My personal favorite spot is down here by the waterfall, but still, it's very limited on where you can actually train and actually use the baby gun properly. However, the biggest factor, in my opinion, on the difficulty of the game are these little monkeys. The monkeys can come over and steal your power-ups and change them. So, if you're trying to get a max ammo in the crowd, there is a chance that a monkey can run over and change it into a carpenter, which was extremely useless, making it so that you had to wait until another max ammo, or if you're playing on Black Ops 3, hit the golf gun machine in order to get actual max ammo close enough to you where it doesn't get changed by the monkeys. However, that's not all, because on top of the tight corridors and the monkeys stealing your power-ups, we also have 2 brand new specialist zombies, the Napalm Zombie and the Shrieker Zombie. Think of the Shrieker Zombie as an even more annoying zombie. They get out of the ground, absolutely screaming their heads off, and when they get up to you, instead of actually trying to attack you, they just scream in your face and make your screen extremely blurry. This was extremely annoying because it would just disorient you, and most of the time it'll get you down because you can't see where you're actually running. However, the Napalm Zombie is much more annoying. Whenever you see the indicator around your screen of a fire, that means the Napalm Zombie is near, and most of the time you have to go and ruin your train in order to hunt it down so it doesn't ruin it itself. Meaning that this zombie absolutely changes the game so that once it pops up on the map, you have to go and chase it down. On top of that, not only does it explode once it gets close enough to you, it also leaves a trail of fire on the floor when it does explode. Meaning this blocks off that area of the map, making it impossible for you to traverse without taking at least some damage. The Easter egg's a lot of fun to do, but it does require 4 players. For those hardcore players that have a good crew to actually do Easter eggs, you're in luck. This is a great Easter egg to do, and it utilizes every single feature of the map. However, in my opinion, the biggest flaw of this map is when you do complete the Easter egg, only one player gets a perkaholic. In every other map, every player gets a perkaholic when you complete the Easter egg, meaning they get every perk. However, in Shangri-La, only one player gets it, the one who completes the last step. In order for every player to actually get the perkaholic, you have to complete the Easter egg 4 times in the same game. Listen, I get it. You want to signify that Brock and Gary are stuck in a time loop and therefore want every player to repeat freeing them. However, this is an extremely long Easter egg, super unfun, and a lot of players just give up and accept the fact that only one player is getting the rock at the end, giving them the perkaholic. Overall, this is a fantastic map if you're extremely hardcore in zombies, but if you're more of a casual player, I would steer away from this. This is an extremely hard map. I do not recommend this to the casual player. Moving on to the final map of Black Ops 1, we are talking about Moon. And Moon is so much fun in my opinion, yet I understand why a lot of players don't like it. Personally, for me, Moon adds a challenge to Black Ops 1, but it's not as extreme as Shangri-La, even though I like Shangri-La as well. However, a lot of players were turned off by the fact that they had so many annoying factors on this map that just absolutely ruined it, that I understand where players come from when they say this is not a map that they like going back to. First off, when you start off the game, you start off in Area 51 instead of the normal spawn room. This is because they want you to actually gain some points in order to actually progress through the rounds. You can easily just hop on the teleporter back where Jug is and just teleport to the spawn room right away. However, a lot of skilled players like to train down here and get as many points as possible before they actually go, so that way they can even open up all the doors, and if they get lucky on spawn, can actually buy Jug right off the bat. However, every time you hear a siren, the zombies' health increases by 1 round. That means when you hear the first siren, the zombies are now acting as level 2 zombies, and most of them are sprinters at this point, making it extremely hard to keep the train, and making it so that knifing is almost impossible. Possibly the worst feature about this starting area though is the fact that you either get Juggernog or Speed Cola. You cannot get both on the map at the same time. If you get Juggernog at the spawn, like I do here, you have 1 or 2 options to get Juggernog. 1, you get it right away, as I did in this game. Or 2, you have to wait until you return back to Earth, where it switches into Speed Cola, and then you have to go back to the moon, and then back to Earth again. It's not as simple as returning back to the moon and running straight to the teleporter. You have to wait another round in order for you to actually return back to Earth, which is extremely annoying, meaning that you have to wait a minimum of 2 rounds in order for you to actually get the perk that you want if you ever go down on the moon. However, once you step on the teleporter, it's essentially what you would have thought of. You have a quick revive machine, 2 doors. Yeah, you do have low gravity, but this is something you should have expected when playing a map called Moon. You go about your normal process, opening up doors and turning on power, and everything seems well until you realize that Nova 6 crawlers are back. Yeah, Nova 6 crawlers have made their return on this map, and they're 10 times more annoying because now they can teleport. Within a certain amount of time, if you don't kill them around you, they will teleport to a new location, most likely right behind you, and this is super annoying. However, the most annoying boss on this map is actually the Cosmonaut. If you get too close to this boss, it can actually injure you all the way down to red and steal a perk away from you, making this the most annoying boss of all time. And what do you get for killing it? The same amount of points you would get from killing a zombie, making these the worst bosses of all time in my opinion. However, with all the downsides on this map, there's still a lot of plus sides in my opinion. First of all, Gershons make their triumphant return. I love the inclusion in this map. Why not have the Black Hole Tactical be included in the only 2 maps that actually feature space, Ascension and Moon? We have a brand new piece of equipment too, that being the Hacker, and the Hacker is a very versatile equipment that can be used all over the map. You can use it to stop the excavators from drilling into the tunnels, therefore releasing all the air in the tunnels, making it impossible to breathe. You can use it to return perks that you no longer want anymore, thus giving you the points back. And probably the best feature, in my opinion, you can use it to hack the Pack-a-Punch, closing the cages around you, making it so that you have free access to Pack-a-Punch your guns without the zombies ambushing you. It's actually a lot of fun just to camp out in here while hacking the Pack-a-Punch machine, buy you so much time in order for you to actually pack a bunch of weapons and get out of there without a scratch. You can even shoot the zombies through here in order to clear up a path as soon as the cage is open. I almost forgot about the fact that you can respin the box with it for only 600 points, and the second time you use the hacker on the box after respinning it, it refunds you 950 and makes that gun available to everybody. However, the wonder weapon on this map is possibly one of the best ones in the game besides the thunder gun, the zap gun dual wield / the wave gun. And if you shoot a single zombie with the zap gun dual wield, then it does infinite damage and both sides just have a nice little color aesthetic. However, if you train up a horde and you combine the zap guns together in order to make the wave gun, this is probably one of the funnest guns to use in the game. For training up a horde and shooting this gun into the horde, it has one of the best effects where you actually puff up all the zombies with one shot and they all turn into like marshmallows and pop in midair. This is a fun gun to use. We are introduced to a brand new perk as well, that being Mule Kick. Mule Kick is honestly one of the most controversial perks because a lot of players love Mule Kick due to the fact that it gives you a third weapon, therefore more ammo. Though a lot of players don't like it because as soon as you go down, you lose that third gun, and sometimes that can be the wonder weapon and you have to hit the box all over again in order to re-achieve it. For me, I personally think that Mule Kick is a good perk, though it is kind of annoying to lose your guns. With all that put to the side, the best feature about this map is the main Easter egg quest, where if you have not done it, I highly suggest you play this map just for that. Anyway, not to spoil anything, but you blow up the freaking earth at the end of it. Even if you go back to Area 51 to pack a punch a gun, the entire map is on fire. It is truly one of the best Easter eggs of all time in any game whatsoever. You have to do this for yourself, and I highly suggest looking at my video earlier in my channel about me and my crew actually doing it, because seeing it first person is truly something remarkable. However, the worst part about the Easter egg is if you're doing it solo, you need two different tactical equipments. First one being the Gersh devices, obviously. The second one being a brand new one also introduced into Moon, the QEDs or Quantum Entanglement devices. What do these things do? I don't personally know. They do so many different things. They spawn zombies, launch grenades, cause a gun to shoot in a circle which can actually harm you. They can give you a perk if you throw it at a crank machine, revive your teammates. It does so many random things, it's either good or bad, and I personally do not like its inclusion. I feel like it was only included on this map because it would be another obstacle for developers to put in order for you to complete the Easter egg, which is not fun whatsoever. With all that being said, with the QEDs being just a shoe-in for the Easter egg, the Cosmonaut not being the worst thing to ever touch this map, and the Nova 6 crawlers making its return, but even more annoying, this is possibly one of my favorite maps in Black Ops 1 because of the wave gun, the Gersh devices, the hacker, and just so many other little things in the map that just make it so perfect. And the Easter egg ending, definitely something you have to check out. Once again, check out my earlier video where I complete this with my crew. And now let's recap Black Ops 1. You start off with Kino 5 and Dead Ops Arcade, which gave the player a lot of time to just settle into zombies and get excited for what was coming next. Then it was Ascension, which innovated a lot that came in with Kino, introducing two of the best perks of all time, but it did introduce the monkeys, which are super annoying. That's why players don't consider this one of the best maps of all time. Then we move on to Call of the Dead, and yeah, it was super annoying with George Romero and some lackluster wonder weapons, but the cast was still sublime, and it was still a great atmosphere to play in, being in an abandoned lighthouse and wrecked ship. It was a lot of fun to play. Then we go on to Shangri-La, and Shangri-La was one of the most difficult maps ever introduced in Call of Duty Zombies, but if you knew what you were doing, high rounds were a simple breeze, because the baby gun would infinitely kill zombies, no matter what round it was. Finally, we end off with Moon, and Moon was so close to being my favorite. It had so many good things, like the wave gun, brought back the Gersh devices, the hacker, Area 51 was a great starting area, but the Cosmonaut, the Nova 6 crawlers, and the excavating drills made it so that it had too many flaws to be considered my favorite. Overall, Call of Duty Black Ops 1 was almost perfect, and left us thinking what was next when it came to zombies. Well, we're going to talk about that next week with Black Ops 2 Zombies, and please make sure to like, subscribe, and check out the Twitter for more notifications about my next video. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. where we talk about Black Ops 2 and all its ups and downs in the game.